Kids are prone to saying some pretty wacky stuff. Usually toddlers' random outbursts are either nonsensical or funny, but sometimes they veer into legit terrifying territory. Some young kids, usually between the age of 2 and 5, often speak about when they were bigger or when they lived as someone else in some place they have never been. Many cultures believe in the idea of reincarnation, whether it's a birthmark that shows the way you have died in a past life or a distant, dreamlike memory that you just can't shake. In this video, we will talk about the top 10 kids who knew their past life. Welcome to Top Feed. This is a place where you can explore everything impressive both in a remarkable and weird way. If you want to get the latest updates about facts that will blow your mind, better subscribe and smash the like button now. Today, we put together a list of the top 10 kids who knew their past lives. The boy at number 1 solved his own murder, so stay tuned for that. Number 10. Shanti Devi. Religion and philosophy have long discussed the possibility of souls, but it was the claims of a young girl named Shanti Devi from Delhi, India that made a rather convincing case for reincarnation in the 1930s. When she was just 4 years old, Shanti Devi began telling her parents eerily specific details about her old life in a town 75 miles from where she was born, and a place she'd never been to before. Devi eventually informed her parents that her previous name was Lugdi, and that she died shortly after bearing a son with her husband, Pandit Kedarnath Chaub. When she revealed the name of her former husband, Devi's family was shocked to discover that he was still alive and lived precisely where Devi had said she was from. A historic meeting was arranged between them that not even science could quite explain. She recognized the husband and even his son. It was one of the most thoroughly investigated cases, studied by hundreds of researchers, critics, scholars, saints, and eminent public figures from all parts of India and abroad from the mid-1930s and on. Number 9. The kid who lived in a lake house. This story is about a 3-year-old kid who approached her mother on a Sunday morning. She gave her a watercolor painting that had a little boat on a lake. The girl had pointed out that she has been on a boat like that, and when the mother asked her to explain, knowing she had never been on a boat, the girl said it was before she died. Yes, you heard that right. Imagine the state of her mother who heard those words come out of her daughter's mouth. She said that she was in the boat and then hit her head with something and went into the water. She kept falling and then went to God. She raised her arms up in the air and looked up. The mother was speechless and had chills all over. The mother said that her daughter is now 12 years old and has no memory of what happened that day. She even loves boating and has no fear of it. How creepy is that? Number 8. Boy claiming to be his grandfather. This is a pretty bizarre one. At the young age of 1.5, Gus Taylor had told his dad while getting his diaper changed, "You know, when I was your age, I used to change your diaper." Gus was named after his grandfather, of course. Whenever his family would talk about his grandpa, Gus clearly insisted that they were talking about him. He is able to pick out distinct details, like recognizing his grandfather as a child in a large group photo. He also identified the picture of a car as his first car that his grandfather ever owned. But this is really where it starts to get freaky. Gus claims that his sister, the kid's aunt, died and became what he called a fish. What actually happened is that she was murdered and her body was dumped into the San Francisco Bay. How would any child know that? No one in his family told him. This completely stunned everyone. This story is truly remarkable. Number 7. A Scottish pub crawl. Talking about Scotland, this is another story that will leave you speechless. It comes from Reddit user Hydraulic Turtle. His parents took him to a pub in Scotland. To their surprise, he said, "Oh, my favorite place." The parents were weirded out but ignored it. After a while, after they sat down, his father asked where the toilets were. To his surprise, the kid took his father by hand to show him where they were. He then started telling his mother how much he loved coming to this place, and that there was even a fireplace. However, the parents couldn't find any fireplace. Later on, he told his mother how much he enjoyed going there and to meet the owner named Fred. His mom asked the bartender about Fred, to which the person replied, "Oh no, sorry miss. Fred died over 10 years ago now." Do you believe in this story? Number 6. The boy who lived on a remote Scottish island. As a young boy, Cameron Macaulay lived in Glasgow with his single mother and older brother, but Cameron inexplicably remembers another life before his current one. That life was on a remote Scottish island called Barra. He remembers his Bara mother and his dad, his Bara brothers and sisters, and his black and white Bara sheepdog. He remembers living near the beach in a white house close to where the planes would land. Cameron is insistent that he really lived this other life, and he longs for it terribly. His mother, Norma, didn't know what to make of these strange memories and took her to a psychologist who tried working on him, but all in vain. Cameron actually had a past life, and unlike the boat girl, he remembers it vividly. Can you imagine how horrific it must be to live with memories of you actually living? Number 5. Russian kindergartner. This story revolves around a girl who was Russian in her past life. The mother of this little girl noticed something was off while her daughter was learning the alphabet. She has a hard time learning the letters. She would end up mixing B's and V's and H's and N's. Now, as we know, these letters aren't really related to each other. That's why the teachers were so confused if they could be mixed up. While reading, her mother said the kid would not recognize any letters except for H's and N's. The kid thought there were more letters, and when her mother asked what more letters, she wrote out the Russian letters on paper. The mother was utterly perplexed and terrified because the kid never learned any Russian. So she asked her where did she learn that. The answer would scar her mother for life. She claimed that she learned the letters from Vlad, who was her brother. She kept telling the mother that he disappeared, and the next day, a man came and killed her family. The kid was definitely remembering her past life. If you think this is creepy, wait until you hear the next stories. Number 4. James Leninger. James Leninger is the subject of a well-known American child reincarnation case. In early childhood, James had frequent nightmares of being trapped in a burning plane that was crashing. In further statements to his parents, he said he'd been shot down in a plane near Iwo Jima, had been based on a ship named Natoma, and had a friend named Jack Larson. These and other details were found to match closely with the life of James Huston Jr., an American pilot killed in action in March 1945. James's parents wrote a best-selling book about their investigation, and the case received widespread media attention. We don't know what to believe anymore. Number 3. Edward Austrian. Here's another story about the reincarnation of a World War soldier. A 4-year-old boy called Edward Austrian had been complaining of a sore throat since his mother can remember. He also can't stand gray, drizzly days, apparently. His parents took him to countless doctors and performed a lot of surgeries, but the pain never left. One day, something strange happened. Edward started telling his mom detailed stories from World War I, things a 4-year-old wouldn't be able to absorb and remember from a TV show or movie. He spoke of life on the trenches and the day-to-day goings-on of war. And then, one day, he told his mother a graphic story of being shot in the throat and killed. He said his name was James, and he was 18 years old. He told everything that happened before getting shot and killed. Let's remember this kid is 4 years old. Number 2. Kid from Thailand. This 3-year-old boy named Chanai Chumalewong from Thailand said that he was a teacher called Buakai in his past life. He said that on his way to school one day he was shot in the head. He told his grandmother all about his previous parents, his wife, and even his children, and he begged her to let him visit. The boy took them all the way to Buakai's house. There he met Bua's parents, who said that he had been murdered 5 years before Chanai was born. The really creepy thing here was that Chanai had 2 birthmarks, one on the back of his head and one above his left eye. These were the exact spots where the bullet entered and exited Buakai's head. Creepy! Finally, at number 1, we have the boy who solved his own murder. Yes, you heard that correctly. In 2009, a doctor investigated a 3-year-old boy's claim that he remembered his past life and that he was killed by an axe blow to the head exactly where his red birthmark was. That wasn't all. The boy took the doctor to a village and walked up to a person there saying, "I used to be your neighbor. We had a fight and you killed me with an axe." The man's face went white. The boy even knew where the killer buried his body. He took them to a pile of stones, and underneath was a skeleton of a man wearing farmer's clothes. The skull had a clean axe wound split right on top of it. That is the creepiest thing we've heard in a while. And that's all for the top 10 kids who knew their past lives. Which one of these stories did you find the creepiest? Go ahead and share it in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed watching this video, please don't forget to like and share this video. Be sure to also hit the subscribe button to get more interesting content. See you again next time on Top Feed.